Welcome to this UCPath online training. Funding entry information identifies the funding source, as well as how pay earnings allocate across multiple funding sources. UCPath uses this information to generate payroll accounting entries to interface into the UC financial system. Funding inquiry page does not display submitted or rejected data, only approved funding. The information found on the funding entry inquiry page creates detailed accounting entries during GL closing. Okay, so the funding entry page is a customized page for the Commitment Accounting module. To navigate there, we are going to start at the PeopleSoft menu. And from here, you could go into Setup HCM, Product Related, Commitment Accounting, UC Customizations, and Funding Entry Inquiry. You can click the toggle to expand so that you can fully see each of the menu options. You'll notice we have the Funding Entry Inquiry page available here. You can also navigate from the PeopleSoft menu to the UCPath Workcenter. This is a really good place to work within UCPath. When in the Workcenter, it will be the same navigation, but through the main menu at the top. You will select Setup HCM, Product Related, Commitment Accounting, UC Customizations, and then select Funding Entry Inquiry. You can add this page to your favorites list on the top right corner. Here you have search criteria. This is a view-only page, so you can't make any updates to the funding on this page, but you can see what funding entries have been made or are currently applicable for a position. Each magnifying glass allows you to search for whatever elements can populate the given fields. So for department, it will pull up all the different possibilities for departments at Berkeley. Because the BKCMP set ID has already been filled in, you can scroll through and select a given department or search for a department at the top. I'm going to select the Best region, then I will click Search. This will show me all the available positions in the Best region at Berkeley, because those are the two criteria which have been entered. The search results will display at the bottom. You will notice that it only shows the first 300 results. You can see that we have the department funding listed at the top. We are going to look at the funding for position number 401-46048. Just click on the desired row and the system will populate the associated data into the position funding inquiry page. This page may appear slightly differently depending on the level of funding that was selected, but all of the sections will be the same. This one is at a position level funding. Funding entry has 3 levels. The levels allow entry for a group of positions or for a single position. Position funding is the most narrow level. A position is a prerequisite at position level funding. This is typically used at the University of California, UC. Position funding is funding at the position level, not the job level. Job level is specific to an employee in a position. Funding is always attached to the position rather than the person. No matter who is in the position, it is the same account or distribution that is paying that position. The position pool is the next level. A position pool is a group of positions within a single department. It is used for a group of positions that have the same funding source and pay distribution. The position pool ID must exist before funding at this level can exist. Position pools here at Berkeley are used mainly for work study. Department funding is the broadest level of funding. Department funding is funding for a whole department. It is also referred to as a suspense account or catch-all fund. The purpose of department funding is to cover salary cost when position funding is not available. Let's say if a new employee was hired, but the position funding had not been entered yet. This person is still going to get paid, but it hasn't yet been specified in the system which account to pull the pay from. So UCPath will pay the person out of the department level fund. Later, a direct retro can be done to pay back the department fund. Department funding is controlled by the Controller's Office. It is important to be cautious not to select department funding when funding a position. The UCPath system looks for the narrowest level when generating the payroll accounting entries. In other words, the system looks at the employee's position and searches for position level funding first, position pool level funding second, and department funding last. This section at the top shows the set ID, department, fiscal year, budget begin date, and the budget end date. If you were to scroll to the right, you can see if there are additional rows of funding associated with the position. If there were, it would be possible to toggle through the funding rows using the arrows, or View All can be used to view all the funding entries at the same time. We know this position only has one row of funding entry because it says 1 of 1. The Job Data Snapshot shows information on the employee if there is currently an incumbent in the position, what their name is, the employee ID, EMPL record, effective date, effective sequence, department, job code, the job code description, payroll status, expected job end date if applicable, and if the employee has been e-verified. This position is currently vacant, which we know by the fact that this section is currently blank. The final section is the earnings distribution, and this is where the chart string is. It includes the funding effective date, sequence, and status, along with the earnings distribution, which is right here. The earnings distribution contains the chart field values, the combination of which create a chart string that represent the full accounting unit at UC. So if you scroll to the right, you can see all the potential elements included in the chart field. You will notice that the fields entered here will really depend on the requirements of the location and departments. This area also includes the pay distribution percentage, which is especially important if there are multiple chart strings associated with a position. So if we had multiple chart strings that were funding one earn code, the pay distribution for each earn code will need to be 100%. Another important thing to remember is that the funding end date should not be entered in UC Path, even if the fund does have a specific end date. This information is managed within BFS, the Berkeley Financial System. So if the funding source ends, such as a grant that has an end date, the end date should not be entered in UC Path, but instead will be managed within BFS. Once you are finished looking at this page, you can click Return to Search. This will bring you back to the search results from earlier, which is currently showing the current positions within this region. Thank you for watching this microlearning training video. If you have further questions, please review the materials available on the Berkeley UC Path Transactional User Training page, or email us at ucbucpath@berkeley.edu.